And here we are for the start of Summer Playoffs. I'm Medic, that's Caedrel. We'll be guiding you through the action for what is hopefully 5 games of intense action, although I think a lot of people currently are looking at G2 as the favorites for this series.
Definitely are. XL, although they did only drop 1 game in the best of 3s, they were a little bit shaky coming into it. And I think in terms of flexibility, G2 has shown a lot of that. You know, from the bot lane especially, they've shown a lot of power picks that they can pull out. And you can see in that teaser there, Caps has definitely come back into form, I feel like, for the playoffs and towards summer.
I very much agree with you. That mid lane battle one we're going to keep our eyes on as we get on into the draft for game 1. So just a quick hit on why this series is important. Winner goes through to the summer finals next Sunday, can compete obviously for the title there. If XL win this series, they would be in the finals and they would lock themselves a spot in our season finals and can possibly qualify for Worlds. They also lock out Koi, I believe, if they manage to win here. Obviously, if XL lose, they still have a chance to work their way through the lower bracket. Already, though, picks and bans rattling off fast here. The Rumble, the Rakan, the Ivan, and the Draven. Yeah,
the easy way to see it is if XL win, they lock the season finals. There's only 1 team, 1 spot left that can actually join them, and it'll be the winner of Fnatic Heretics.
Yep.
Loser will be out from that series next week. But straight into draft, LeBlanc, Draven, ban. I think Kai'Sa normally slips through this draft if G2 want to first pick that. But Rell is also open, which is another one of those power picks. G2 would be very happy rolling some kind of Kalista lane into it. I feel like Jayce Maokai has been really powerful on this patch as well. Sejuani is another jungler, which is extremely strong. Vi is still stuck around a little bit, mainly through the ban phase, not so much the pick phase. But I wouldn't be surprised to see XL go for the Jayce Maokai, and there it is. I mean, they can pick up their top laner on 3, look for something like the Renekton or Cassante. Rumble obviously banned versus Odoamne, one of his classics. So AD top lane is what they want to look at. The only thing they need to be careful for is this Jayce Maokai meta has evolved mostly through let's pick all our top side in the 1-2-3. You know, Jayce, Renekton, and Maokai. Oftentimes then you lack AP on bot side. If your AD carry can't play Ziggs, you need Varus, and if Varus is banned, you're in a bit of a pickle. They haven't gone for the Kai'Sa, and there it is.
There it is. I was going to say the Kai'Sa is the only real option to correct that for you if you want to play an AP bot lane, or obviously you could play the Ziggs or the Seraphine as well, but Kai'Sa being locked in by G2 means that XL won't have that option at their disposal.
Yeah, in the EDG Top Esports series, it was Jayce Maokai very heavy prio, and normally they were picking Cassante or Renekton on the 1-2-3, and then Uzi especially was really struggling to find AP champs. And Varus early rotation came out, so we'll see what XL does. They can pick up their top laner here, or they can pick up a support to match Rell like the Alistar, or they can pick up their AD carry. So they don't. Oh, they've gone for Kalista. Wow. Okay, we thought that it would be G2 rolling the Kalista. Only a couple teams around the world have been playing the Kalista itself, and G2 is one of them. But now it's XL picking that up into the Kai'Sa.
Patrik's 8th most played across the course of his career, has a negative win rate on it, 13 games, only a 46% win rate, but obviously Patrik has been on teams that have struggled at times, so it's not indicative of his performance on the champ itself.
Yep.
We'll see what support they want to tie up next to that Kalista in the bot lane. G2 still a lot of flexibility. The Trundle obviously expected to go jungle, but could have a top Trundle with a Rell jungle and then flip things around a little bit.
I think it was it Dundun or Dudu? One of the two was playing Trundle top, going full split push. It was terrible. That's the only Trundle top I've seen in pro play this year. Definitely worth the flex though. We'll see what happens. But GP Jax bans, 2 carries coming out. I wonder if they want Cassante on 4 here or something. Counter support is not really available because you would think that the Rell could go jungle as well, but with the Trundle it's probably Rell support. They could brand Braum Alistar here, but then they have Nautilus anyway. So I feel like XL won't be too pinched when it comes to picking up a support. And their draft should be rounded out quite nicely. I'm just curious what Odoamne is going to go for. I feel like Cassante is the easy option unless he wants to go for a Sion, but Sion into Trundle Pillar and Sion and the ultimate is a bit of a problem.
Even something like the Kennen, if you wanted more AP, does struggle into getting towards a Rell or a Trundle later on in the game. Support here though, it looks like for XL, saving that top lane for last.
Yeah, I think Alistar Nautilus is the easy pick, one of the two. The question is, if he picks Alistar, is Caps going to go Sylas? You know, that's the only really thing that you think about when you're blinding Alistar. The only thing you have to be slightly careful for, but it's really good into the Kai'Sa. And Kalista Alistar is a classic. You know, Alistar goes in combos, gets Kalista ulted, knocks him up again, and by that time Kalista can get her stacks in. What is Caps going to play into this Jayce, though, is my question. Only LeBlanc is really banned away. Could go for something like Azir if he wants to be safe, but I feel like Azir has just struggled normally against these poke mid lane champions especially.
Would you ever flex the Kalista to mid and then play a traditional AD carry down towards the bottom lane?
Could play Tristana mid,
yeah,
right?
Could also
and then
play
have the Kai'Sa AP bot if you want to. There's the Renekton for BB, I expect. I think Odoamne won't struggle to find a pick into that. He could even go something like the Kennen if he wants. With the comp that XL are currently running with a lot of dive. Neeko got nerfed, but Cap's been playing a lot of Neeko this split. It's his most played in summer.
He'll bring it back out here. Let's see how effective he is on it. Obviously, I think my mind always harks back to the Mad Lions game where he went in as a control ward and his team wasn't really able to follow up. But G2 look a lot more coordinated now than they did at the start of summer. XL maybe flexing this Jayce to top lane, giving it to Odoamne.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that, but they are going to go for it. So the Jayce Maokai will be played, but it'll be top lane Jayce. The only reason I don't like that so much is oftentimes when you're contesting dragons, especially, it's a 4v4. Normally top laners are side laning, or they're split pushing, or they're late to the objective. You want the mid lane Jayce because he's there for the objective early and he can poke them out and hold the vision with the Maokai. Now you're kind of separated and you're playing double AP mid jungle. I mean, their backline, front to back DPS will be high, but it's just a case of they need to snowball through bot, and Azir getting mid push and roaming around the bot side is not as strong as the Jayce, but maybe they think that this is better matchups overall, and Abbedagge can punish the Neeko of Caps. G2 and XL both running very heavy mid-game skirmish comps. XL's win condition mostly through bot, so we'll see a lot of bot side 3v3s.
Let's see how much Peach can put on his shoulders. Had a really good end to the group stage, end to the season so far. He's been so consistent in getting his team early leads and then allowing XL to snowball from there. Obviously on the other side, Yike, probably rookie of the year in most people's eyes.
Yeah.
How he's performed for G2.
And Peach is sitting on 100% win rate on the Maokai so far. So definitely comfort all around for XL, especially given the Azir. This game 1 will be very telling for the rest of the series.
Definitely will. XL looking to make their first finals. G2 looking to make another. They've been up there so many times, but XL could stop them in their tracks as we kick off playoffs here for Summer Split. An organization that's been around since 2019. XL have very rarely been near the top of the league. Remember, only made playoffs for the first time back in 2022 last year. Now, on a fine run of form, the patch suits them. Abbedagge talked about it a lot on Euphoria with you and Dracos, saying they were really just waiting for this patch to come in for them to reach their final form, and now G2 will challenge that form and see if it's found wanting.
They're up against a powerhouse of G2, of course. You can hear the crowd, all the G2 fans are here, ready to support their team to the finals. And like I said, patch change was really big for them. Having those melee supports, limit on the Alistar, the Rell has really just been game changer for this team. Odo trying to force BB out here. Doesn't go for any chunk damage onto the Renekton. Maybe a little bit scared of the Trundle late invade, but ward onto Red will give a little bit of information. Mikyx kind of floating around, seeing if XL place any wards down here and he can take them out. Maybe could get a little bit of damage here.
Flash, knock up. Mikyx trying to jump away, does get the shield. Ignite is now taking, but Patrik can chase this one down. The Martial Poise doing so much work. Rend used as well. Mikyx at 100 HP. Hunsummer going to be forced to flash away as well. 2 summoners burnt on the XL side for both the flashes from the G2 bot lane.
That is very big when it comes to this bot side 3v3, which we expected. My eyes are now on Yike. He could do red buff and then maybe like something psycho, like flash over the Dragon Pit, runs the enemy blue, run bot, level 2 gank, kill the Alistar, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Level 2 gank inbound. Limit needs to be careful. He might die here.
X flash forward. Mikyx looking for the knock-up. Limit gets one of his own with that pulverize. The pillar coming down though, and Limit really has nowhere to go. Yike flashing forward for the chomp, and G2 will pull burst of blood out of the bag.
Very smart by Yike. It's kind of natural for you to realize, hey, I'm starting on the same side of the map where my lane just lost both their summoners. I need to do something quick. I can see the Maokai on top side. Just quick level 2 gank, see if it works. And if it doesn't, he could just invade the blue buff anyway, and XL have to give the push. So good adaptation from the jungler. G2 get a base. They obviously won't have those summoners, and Yike will eventually have to path up regardless. But yeah, salvage that lane now.
Yeah, Peach is spotted on his red buff as well on the top side of the map, so G2 know exactly where he is and where he's going. That combination between Yike and Mikyx is one that G2 have used so effectively over the last few weeks. Usually a little bit more after the first 3 minutes of the game, but here you can see just that the synergy between the two of them really paying dividends once again. Mikyx even coming towards the mid lane here. Level 1 on the Rell. Does have the Hex Flash, will be spotted on a ward.
Yeah.
Rell's level 1, probably one of the stronger support level 1s across the board.
Really close to leveling up. He can just stand here and get a creep from Caps, and then get level 2 if he wants, and then head back bot. Could also go for the cannon. He's in a Hex Flash on the level up, maybe? No, he didn't get it. So that sucks for Mikyx.
Hex Flash is out of experience range. Yeah. Cat's like, please, please don't take it.
Don't take my experience. Root's gonna land. Nice chunk onto Abbe, who I think Abbedagge, for me as a player, has had an interesting split in regards to in clutch plays and in team fights, he's stepped up. But in lane phase, he has oftentimes quite struggled a lot, especially in the playoffs. But once he gets out of the lane phase, he looks really comfortable around the map. His LeBlanc comes to mind, his Azir in team fights comes to mind when it comes to these big fights. So XL probably want to get out of the lane phase. But they want to keep the Kalista lane going as long as possible is the only issue.
They want to be able to utilize all of that Kalista's early game power. Almost were able to get the first couple of kills, couldn't quite catch them as flash forward and Abbedagge is just dead. No escape from Caps on the Neeko as soon as you're hit with those tangle barbs. Really no way out for you. Yike now going to catch out Peach as he walks around the corner. Level 3 to level 4. Red buff on Peach as well. Twisted advance from Peach towards Yike will get him to safety. Meanwhile in the bottom lane, Limits trading onto Mikyx. Mikyx's going to be able to jump away with the crash down, and G2 bot lane will get away to safety.
Big kill by Caps. Players are talking about how this summer he's really come alive. Struggled throughout the year, struggled at MSI. Everyone was running where Caps is. And again, just bringing out the first solo kill of this best of 5. I think he's had a pretty good summer overall. And he's definitely ramping himself up.
You can see his spring a little bit disappointing. I think he was a bit in his own head. Talked about it a couple of times in interviews, but summer continues to level up, continues to be the Caps that so long has dominated the European scene as Mikyx looks for the engage in the bot lane, limit down to a couple of hundred HP.
So unlucky the minion block the Kai'Sa W there. Hans would definitely commit for a kill. But the block means that they can't get it. Ignite used, Limit could look for a re-engage on the Hans here.
Double stun once again, Patrik cleansing away, Limit going in for Hans Summer. He's down to 200 HP and Patrik look for the end. Can't get the spears in Hans Summer's back. Mikyx with the re-engage, Patrik flashing away. Dodging away, but he still gets stunned up. The glacier moment is just too much. G2 get a double in the bot lane.
It's an absolute disaster for XL, isn't it? Playing this Kalista lane, getting the summoner advantage early, going for the 2v2 and trying to find the kills, but unfortunately everyone lives on such low HP. Let's watch Patrick's auto attacks here. Because he gets a couple down straight onto Hans. The cleanse doesn't come out just yet from Hans, I believe. The ignite's ticking, stun comes through, cleanse comes through onto the stun, and the auto attack hits. He doesn't have the E up, so it doesn't proc the spears. W snipes out Limit, then the crash down gets flashed away from Patrik, but then he loses vision of Mikyx, I think it is. So no, the stun comes through rather. And with the auto attack E, the damage just isn't there. Really, really unfortunate for XL's bot lane. Now mid and bot in a bit of a tough situation.
And really not what you want to see out of your Kalista lane either, right? They saved this for the third pick on the red side, getting that Kalista in, trying to put some pressure down, but weren't really able to get the early advantages. Part of that being Yike's gank, setting them behind. Peach now on the bottom side of the map as Yike comes across. Mid lane push is in favor of G2, so Caps will be able to move first. TP used by Odo to the top lane. BrokenBlade doesn't have a TP of his own either. BrokenBlade looking for the demolish box, does get the tower plate. Doesn't tank the tower though, so Odo won't be able to finish off that croc quite yet.
Yeah, I just rewatched that 2v2 kill bot actually. I think Mikyx leveled up on the auto attack, but we might have a fight here.
Caps, Pop Blossom landed on 2. Mikyx looking for the knockup as well, but can't get across the wall. It's just too damn thick. Limit low. The Emperor's Divide coming out as Mikyx's knocked into the back of XL. Yike lower. He goes across the wall though, and with the chop is able to get one. The Limit chucked back by Mikyx. Jousted over his shoulder. Hans Summer patching for it. Needs another auto. Bramble smash back to the tower. Patrik will get an answering kill in the end. Comes out in G2's favor, but so close between these two early on.
Yeah, it's a 2 for 3, but importantly, Patrik just got a big shutdown onto Hans, so that recovers a little bit of the gold deficit in terms of raw kills overall. We're quick into these replays, aren't we, Mikyx? So let's see, Caps goes for the ultimate, lands it onto the bot lane of XL. Mikyx gets a really nice stun here in just a second. It's going to land onto Abbedagge as he dashes in, so he can't get the push straight away. Only lands onto Mikyx. That makes it so Caps can escape to the right. Otherwise, he would have been able to land the shuffle onto both of them. Flashes away, flash chase comes through. Maybe a little bit greedy here by Hans, taking the small wins. Would have been the better option, but he thinks he can get Peach down straight away with that Q auto after his flash, but gets knocked into tower. Eventually does get the kill, but trades it back. 450 gold over to Patrik.
A bit of a gold infusion into XL, but they are 2,000 gold behind, and Static Shiv already complete for Hans Summer. I didn't see if he took the DMAT earlier. Looks like he's not running it, so Won't be the easiest clear, but it is Kai'Sa, so you can still clear those waves pretty quickly. He's
still a legendary item at 7 minutes really. So, yeah, that Kalista's going to be sitting under her tower. What's the flash timer for Hans? It must be around 4 minutes now, yeah, because he just used it mid, and they're level 6 on Kalista, Alistar. So he's going to have to play very far back. His jungler's on Herald, he has no flash. Level 6 Kalista, they're going to have to give up a bit of this bot push. Maybe have to give up Drake as well. First Herald to first Drake will be in favor of the Herald, because early gold's just better in terms of injection. But still can get that ball rolling on the soul. Hextech Dragon first sucks a little bit, you know, it's one of the best souls. See if they can play for a bot dive here. No.
You can look for it.
Wow, the ultimate's really coming in, huh?
It's a long range Odoamne. Mikyx can block this pretty easily. Limit looking for the knockup. He's tanking first. Hansama down to half HP. Limit pulled back with a face call, but Caps is on his way to answer this, and Mikyx doing a great job at distracting Excel. And Caps' roam is a perfection for G2. They find 3 in the dive that's botched by Excel. Excel only able to get 1 in response, and now Yike says, well, it's a green flag for me to go forward in the top lane. Odoamne, no way for him to survive as G2 find 4 across the map.
The side lanes have collapsed. They lost out early, but now that's it. Top tower is going to fall, basically. 1,000 gold lead to the Renekton. Even more after this tower dies. The Jayce lane's never really going to get side prior. BrokenBlade knows that this matchup is done and dusted in the 1v1. Bot lane is now in such a dire situation. Caps has 4 kills. He saves the day there for G2. The initial dive was a little bit misplayed there by Excel. I think as they went for it, Limit tanking the tower with the Kalista ult is smart, yes, but Patrik didn't get any damage down onto Hans. We'll have to see it again. Hans basically just kind of walked away. Dragon started from Excel, G2 after base. After that fight, and are coming out slowly, but not going to be in time to get Mikyx. Just going to dash over and just check W back over the wall. Easy pickup for Excel. I think on this replay, we'll see the Maokai ultimate come up, but let's watch Patrik, because Limit goes in. They look for Hansama, who has no flash, of course, so they can land the chain to see 1. Ah, hits the creep. Has the E up. I think he's actually hitting the creep on purpose to get the reset on the E, but yeah, he can only get a couple of autos in there, so he can't actually kill him. And then here comes Caps. Turns the entire play.
Caps' room timing. Just gorgeous there for G2. Abbedagge tries to come in and gets 1 kill in response, but overall G2 now in commanding position. 5,000 gold ahead. Let's have a quick look just to see where our players are in relation to each other, and that's what I thought. All 4 carries of G2 ahead of all 4 carries of Excel. Odoamne closer to Mikyx than he is to BrokenBlade.
Mikyx's just 100 gold behind. Takes that away as well. So that stings, that sucks. Mikyx's kind of having a very happy game so far. Only died once. The level 1 was really, really tough. But they pulled it back through the 2v2. Now bot side control. Actually BrokenBlade that's around mid, and Caps is pushing out top, of course. Maybe that was because of the TP situation. Peach no flash for 3 seconds. Mikyx might try and force it.
There's the stun, there's the knockup. Killer Instinct coming in as well from Hansama and Peach. There's nowhere safe. His jungle not his own anymore as G2 collapse once again. Excel really struggling to match the tempo that G2 are putting down. Opening up the map early on. Limit's going to get the knockback onto BrokenBlade. Underneath the tower might be enough. Dominus propped.
Nice try.
BrokenBlade able to survive. TP coming in. As Abbedagge looks to join the fray. Shuffling in, sliding back. The fade score will get a double knockback with Yike falling low. As Yike almost takes him out. Mikyx going to fall as well. Excel get 2 kills, but Yike and Hansama are here to try and clean up. Underneath the tower is going to be dangerous though, as G2 might look for the dive.
Where's Caps TP? You just TP top. They're going to try and fight this 2v2.
Then it goes back in. They don't have vision on Hansama. Patrik across, and Patrik gets 600 gold now in his back pocket, but Yike answers with a kill of his own. Peach coming in. Nature's Grasp from long range to lock up the Trundle. Pops an emote and immediately goes pop afterwards. Peach goes in with a twisted advance, snipes him for the kill secure. And XL find a breath of life in the game as the TP now used by BrokenBlade.
Everyone's TPing everywhere. Huge fight in between towers. Just from Limit trying to recall. XL kind of coming out on top there, getting a lot of kills for themselves when they're this far behind. But why did Caps TP top there? 2 of them were stuck on their tower. Maybe he thought that Hans would get the kills in the 2v2 underneath that tower and thought they were fine. Didn't want to give plates over to the Jayce, but if Caps was there, that was a solidified play. We'll see it again. Limit just Q flashes, W then Q flashes the Renekton. BrokenBlade has to flash away. Good TP in by Abbedagge. I think he realizes he's going in to his own demise, but he's going to push 2 backs to try and trade 2 for 1 here. So good trade-off there with the Kalista ult. Patrik eventually picks up the Rell as well. I think Patrik does well here, because as he E's Mikyx, he Qs Hans. So he gets a little bit of bonus damage in there. So now look at Caps on the minimap. He's TPing top. When he's just off to the left, I thought he would join out on this this dive. Just wants to stop the Jayce from getting plates. Maybe he thinks this is done and dusted, this fight, but it actually gets turned on its head. Limit gets a nice combo on the hands. Patrik flashes forward. He does die to Yike, but then in comes Peach.
able to answer with a kill in the end, but Patrik getting so much gold in that play. You can see he's only 100 gold behind Summer now. Yes, there were leads across the rest of the map for G2, but a fed Kalista in the mid game is nothing to be overlooked. XL still trying to fight back in this game, even though they are 4,000 gold in the hole. They do have that first Drake, 2 minutes, or minute 35 on the next one. I wonder if XL will want to take another skirmish in the mid game, or whether they'll want to wait a little bit, let Abbedagge get to 2 items.
Yeah, pings coming out on the top side, tier 2 from G2. The pings always tell a little bit of a story from teams, don't they? So BrokenBlade's kind of question mark pinging top tier 2, probably saying, hey, we can easily play mid to top if you want to take a tier 2, but plates are still up. It's a bit tricky to play mid to bot for this bot tier 1, and I see pings again from Yike going up towards that top side. Odoamne has flash if they do try and make a play up there. Abbedagge doesn't have the teleport. G2 basically own both sides of the river. You know, when you have this much control on 3 pushing lanes, you need to play together to one side. Because if you have 2 fights across different sides of the map, they can backfire depending on where XL put their numbers to defend. And right now they're defending the bot side. BrokenBlade has this top wave, probably screaming for something towards the top side, but it's only Yike. Hans is basing and Mikyx next to Cap, so they are a bit split up here, G2.
Patrik and Limit coming across, Yike with a good pillar. The ward as well, spotting them before he walked into the clutches of their trap that they had set up. 25 seconds on the Herald, 30 now on the Dragon. XL still poking and prodding to see if BrokenBlade overextends, but BrokenBlade will just back away. And we have a slight lull in what has been a pretty chaotic game so far. 21 kills in 14 minutes. Very bloody between these 2 teams.
That Neeko thing is so obnoxious, and look how much vision it's giving. It just ran up the whole river and scouts exactly where XL was. And Caps will easily be able to pick up the tower for that. So all 3 outers down now. Actually, the mid tier 1's still up. You can see that. So yeah, that's definitely the next point of contest for G2. They need to get that mid tower. I think Herald is their way of doing it. So Yike's going to start it up. 2 seconds on the Dragon. I think G2 are saying, yep, take Dragon. We'll take Herald and we'll Herald your mid tower. And they have a really easy avenue of going mid to top now for the tier 2 because they've sacrificed their top side. So let's watch G2 on the minimap here. See if they move up towards that tower and pick it up. TP from XL in defense. It's going to be Odoamne.
Hans just clearing out the wave there in mid. G2 setting up towards this top side, avoiding the vision around the red buff. Limit now the one to step in. We'll spot out Summer. BrokenBlade looking for the turret. No Rift Herald having to be invested as of yet, but perhaps a collapse from XL. Abbedagge does have the TP, so does Caps if a brawl does begin. But for the moment, both teams just happy enough with what they've got. The Dragon for XL, the Rift Herald, and a tower so far for G2.
I wonder if G2 can save this Herald and do the exact same sequence to bot side with the Herald. And just play for bot tier 2 as well, because they have so many pushing lanes. We'll see, and we'll keep an eye on it. Abbedagge is defending that, but the vision is pretty good from XL. They just can't really fight back. You know, Odoamne is TPing top, he's a bit split, and then if you're forcing a 3v3 into the Kai'Sa Rell, Trundle, it's really hard for the Maokai. He just kind of dies so quickly. Percent HP damage, resistance is gone. 2 items strong on this Kai'Sa.
It's a bit of a tricky situation for XL. Don't really have a way to get priority in any of their lanes apart from overmanning them. Like, you put 3 people in a lane with 2 people, then you get prior, right? You can push out the wave a little bit easier just because you have that man advantage. But you can see Caps into Abbedagge, Caps gets the push. If it's 2v2 in the mid lane, the G2 2v2 gets the push, and it becomes very hard for XL to get vision control and to control the rest of the map.
And this is what G2 often does. See that ward behind right there? If Odoamne pushes out top and BrokenBlade's around, Caps can TP behind. That's a kill onto Jayce, and they can start Nash, right? So in a couple minutes time, those plays, they're going to have to be really careful, XL, in pushing out their lanes. They have the Herald here, but if they overgroup mid, they should be able to pick this up pretty easily. No bot wave to play on.
Try to save the Herald right now.
Are fighting back a bit. Maokai ult's coming through.
And Nature's Grasp has been used. Limit looking for the flash as well. That tower will fall first. Cap flashing away, but Limit has to be pulled back with the pace. Cool. Mikyx gets a double knockup, a double stun, and now the chase is really on as Summer begins to open up. Patrik already dead, and that's all of XL's gold. Gone with him. Yike flashing forward. He'll pay for the kill with his life. But G2 get the tower and get 3 kills out of it.
1 for 3. XL really tried to hold that tower. They want to give up. They don't want to give up anything else on this map because it's becoming really difficult to hold on. And now they're around 7,000 gold down. The tower came through from Abbedagge a little bit earlier. Maybe they could do some work, but Summer sniped out Patrik, and then that's half your damage gone. It's just Abbedagge left. We'll see that again. Peach ults from the side. Odoamne isn't there just yet, so it's kind of like a 5v4 from the get-go. Patrik zones away BrokenBlade. And then here comes the turret, ult onto the Alistar. Now watch Summer. Nice dive by Mikyx and a snipe out Patrik on the back half of this W there, straight past the Alistar. Kalista's gone, Peach flashed away, Limit falls. Abbedagge is free hitting, but he doesn't have the damage right now on this Azir.
And that's the thing, if Patrik falls early in the fight, XL really just don't have the damage. They have one item as it. It's an impossible situation for them. Now, 7,000 gold in the hole, as you mentioned. Dragon up in 2 minutes time, but the Rift Herald still available for G2. So they can just look for the mid push into the tier 2 in the bot lane play that you talked about, Mark.
Yeah, it's good. They have Caps top with TP, they have BrokenBlade mid with TP, and they're just going to go bot as 3 and just place the Herald. What's XL's response? Can Abbedagge get TP on that ward behind them? Can they force a fight? I think they might have to. You know, the Azir flank, I've seen Xiaohu do those things, you know, no flash on the carries, just full send. We'll see what their decision is.
I mean, you're getting to full send point, aren't you, right? Like, even if it's a 20% play, right now your odds of winning this game are less than 10% most likely for XL. So you look for any sort of play where you can catch the enemy out of position. Hansama, though, has Flash Cleanse. Caps, if you knock him into your team, he's just going to pop Blossom.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's really hard, actually, now that you point those things out. XL have the Azir for scaling, but that mid-tier 2 falls, Baron is going to be gone in a blink of an eye. Dragon's not up for another minute. So G2 just have to kind of base, not really anything to play for. Take away jungle camps is normally the call in these kind of situations, so that's going to pick up the Wolves. And not the opening game that XL would have wanted with the Kalista pick. You know, they come out, they put their cards on the table, they say, we can play Kalista too. But it's one of those things where, do you blame the draft for it? I think it was just such an unlucky 2v2 bot. Yeah. Mikyx leveled up to 4 and survived Patrick's burst.
Even like the Yike gank, the level 2 Yike
gank. You point to these things and you say, well, the draft kind of worked, it's just we misplayed. Do you run it back? You know, XL will be able to choose blue side if they want in the next game, which, I mean, in the LPL playoffs in the last 10 games, it's 9-1 in terms of blue to red side.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, even in today's series, blue side was 5-0, so still a very strong side, so XL shouldn't lose too much hope from this game 1, but...
No one heard that. It's the other microphone.
Oh, okay. I just heard
Caedrel just knocked over a microphone on the desk.
Heard something
we just heard a clattering in our ears, but pretty sure that one's turned off for the day. It's our TriCast mic. But yeah, I think for XL, go to blue side, 70% win rate through LEC groups, so something that our teams here are much more comfortable in as well. Gives you the option to look for that Kai'Sa early on if you want it, or even the Rell. We actually, little surprising to see G2 get both the Kai'Sa and the Rell when they're so strong at the moment, especially with Limit, you know, 100% win rate on the Rell. Had some very good performances on it last week.
That's true. That is very true. But if you really want the Jayce Maokai on red side...
That's the problem, right?
You know, you go Jayce Kai'Sa and they take Maokai,
yeah.
I guess they kill the Rell flex, and then you can probably pick something like Sejuani or something, but then you're full.
I also think if you're flexing the Jayce to top lane, maybe he falls down the priority list a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Odo just hasn't had the chance to have an impact. You talked about it in draft. You want to be there first on the objective. You want to be putting out the accelerated shot blasts, and Odo really, even though he's at 2 items now, we haven't seen that damage from a Jayce that we'd usually expect because he's always in the sideline.
It just kills the whole point of Jayce Maokai. You know, you're a mid jungle. Yes, your early setup can be decent because Jayce can get early push and help you on invades, worst case, but that's not really that common. It's more like first and second dragon, saplings, Jayce poke. This is really how you win out of the dragon fights, but Jayce isn't there, so, you know, what does it really achieve you? Here's the Baron start from G2. Not too many wards behind XL, so no real threat of a TP flank from the Neeko. Double TP invested from XL. They are full committing to fight this, but G2 can peel off.
And they're going to do exactly that. Peel off it. Nature's Grasp was used. Everyone stands behind the Neeko clone that tanks the route, and now the re-engage can begin. Peach already low. Pop Caps to 3. Oh my god. Finds them all, and the Killer Instinct lives up to its name as Hansama dives in. The bait's call. Well, it was a baited death for Patrik, it seems. Limit trying to get up to the backline as Hansama falls low, down to 100 HP, but even Limit can't kill him up. G2 wipe them 5-for-1 in the exchange.
What a play by Caps. His ultimates this game on both fights have been exceptional, and then Hansama can just take over the rest of the fight with the dive. The front line is butter, isn't it? Just melts straight through them with the Trundle ultimate and with them being so far behind. And there's not really much XL can do. It's only really Abbedagge that can fight back, but we'll see it again as Patrik was under so much fire. And this was really good by G2. They put the Neeko clone out. Maokai ult comes through. All 3 of them stand behind it. Mikyx split off, and so is BB. And then you can see the engage here from Caps turned into the Yike. Just going to ult, flash forwards, land onto the Jayce and the Kalista. Abbedagge just uses WE to get over the wall, so BrokenBlade has easy access onto him. He has to already push him back, and now Abbedagge, by the time he's starting to hit, his whole team's dead.
Yeah, front lines just disappeared in front of your face. A magic trick that G2 have done so many times this split this year already. And now with Baron and an 11,000 gold lead, XL will be looking for any sort of vestige of hope. I don't think any is going to present itself here.
No, they are so far behind, and I think G2 will just play a 1-4, stack the waves in both lanes, and then just start to force these dives.
Yep.
It's a Hail Mary play for XL. But they don't really have any tools left. They have no flashes on the real primary engagers. I think, for me, that would actually be Azir at this point in Alistar. I think if you can shuffle hands and just dive for it, it's always going to be worth it. But there's mid tower. Bot tower will soon fall as well. Bot in will be the focus. BB will start hitting mid tower or start collapsing. Just a case of XL figuring out what to do for the next game. They have one fight left in them.
It's going to be a desperate one. But as you say, still at least 2 more games in this series. XL had a poor start to this game and to the series, but many ways for them to bounce back. They've shown us their resiliency not only across summer, but also across the rest of the year. A team that places in the bottom 2 times running, then looking for the top spot in summer is one that always, well, can never be underestimated, you know, as Limit looks for perhaps a flank. Hex Flash available to him. No wards on this side from G2, so Limit has found a pocket of vision where an approach could be possible.
Yeah, watch out, Summer. He's getting poked out.
Limit goes forward. BrokenBlade, the one they go for first. Mikyx going to be able to tank up this route alongside Yike. BrokenBlade with the dominance is healthy enough. Yike will fall. The shutdown over to XL. A big kill, as you say. And it stops the push from G2.
Yeah, it does indeed. There's no objective to play for, which is a pain, but they have a wave in mid. They could push in here and try and get mid-tier 1. G2.
And Summer just going for Odo!
My god, the burst from that Kai'Sa. Well, that goes to mid-tier 1 play. They have the base and defend their Nexus. Mid-tier 3 didn't fall. Nice pick by the Kai'Sa. It's very... you can kind of make solo plays a lot of the time and just snipe out people there. Just an instant one-shot onto the Jayce. Patrik's going to get the red buff, catch this top wave, but in the end it's a 1-for-1 and they stop the siege, which is not too bad, but the Soul actually quite far away. G2 only really have 1 dragon. They've just been bloodthirsty this game. Almost a kill a minute for them.
Yeah, they've been absolutely on fighting form. We'll have another look at this. We talked about Limit's positioning, found a bit of a pocket of vision, a bit of fog of war, and then XL were able to follow up on that engage.
And it's hard to fight back here because BB and Hans are already chunked out and they've used their spells to run away, and Caps is off to the side, so it's a 4v5. And now you'll see here, Hansama knows that he'll catch bot wave here. Odoamne has a ward as well to work with to predict exactly where he'll run. And Odo, I think he realizes he's already dead, doesn't even invest a flash. There's no point, is there? He's just going to get chased down. He's basically dead before he can blink.
Heard Neferi was the new assassin, but it seems like Kai'Sa still lives up to the moniker as well.
Assassin, poke, invisibility, attack speed, dash.
Yeah. AD carry, mage,
yeah. Percent HP,
marksman,
flex, mid,
shield,
flash, cleanse.
Yeah.
Wave gear.
She's pretty strong. In the right hands. I saw talk of her being nerfed for 13, 15, I think. Maybe 13, 14 plus.
Yeah. I feel like AP Kai'Sa is just really obnoxious.
Yeah.
AD Kai'Sa is really fun to watch because it's very like auto-attack based, you can really outplay, and the W is not as reliable in terms of just standing good.
It feels like a lot more you have to be close and dodging, a bit like Vayne.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas with AP Kai'Sa, it's like, oh, I hit you with W. 75% of the cooldown back. I hit you with W again.
Yeah.
Want to see me do it again?
And it's
Want
like,
to see me do it again?
Yeah, you land the W on someone, then you can like ult W buffer on someone and just hit them with your passive and blow them up. That's the whole idea. Rather than like being very auto-attack based. Using your Q and weaving in and out. So yeah, it's just obnoxious to deal with. XL trying to hold some defensive vision towards his top side. It's about a minute 40 away from the Baron. BrokenBlade's going to find Odo, or is Odo going to find BrokenBlade? He's going to run away here, the Renekton.
And BrokenBlade will just try and retreat from this situation as Caps continues to push in top. Blast Cone used. Odo still on the chase, does have the TP. Accelerated shot blast, not enough, but Odo.
Flash here, Odo.
Good flash Odo. Meanwhile, the rest of G2 pushing in that tier 3 in the top lane. Odo going to TP in. The Fate's Call being used as they look for the engage. Hansama able to dodge out of the back of it. The Pop Blossom being used as well, and there's 2 caught up. XL thought they could find something, but all they found was an early grave as G2 chased them down in their base. Abbedagge trying to put the damage down, but Yike and Mikyx actually falling a little bit here. Mikyx very low. Ooh. Gets killed off. Another kill as Hansama does down. BrokenBlade tanking 2 towers.
He might
Perhaps
die as well.
didn't realize the rest of his team was sent to the clappers as XL continue to chase in. TP available for Caps, might have to use it to defend.
So that turned into a 3-for-2. The idea from XL was good. What Odoamne did was he chased BrokenBlade down and got him to 10% HP and then instantly TP'd mid and said, let's go. It's a 5v4. BrokenBlade can't match this. He has to recall. But Abbedagge doesn't TP. He doesn't TP on the wall behind him. Maybe that's something that they could have gone for XL, because as good as it is that Odoamne now TP's in, it's actually just still a 4v4 because the Azir is quite late. And even by the time Odo arrives, the front line's gone. G2 have won the fight, but they go a little bit too deep here. Abbedagge is just free hitting onto Mikyx. Caps is already really low, Hans is really low. Yike's trying to dive him on a tier 3, and now you just got to the point where everyone's kind of doing their own thing. Caps wants to base, Hans wants to back off, but he's sticking around because they're going in. BB's diving them, and so they pick up 2 free kills there and get the Renekton flash. Nice pillar here by Yike on the Q. Hammer phone from Odo to stop him from being able to chase down the Renekton. Baron spawning in 10 seconds time. A lot of summoners blown from both sides. Only limits really having the flash available, but XL found an avenue if they want to fight here.
Caps looking forward. Odo going back in, but that's the clone they're targeting right now. Void Seeker's coming in from Hans from the side. BrokenBlade pops the Dominus. G2 now looking for a collapse. XL grouped up, but the pole blossom once again. It's just Caps. Every fight has been defined by whether Caps hits them all with his ult. This time, he slaps XL into the dirt. G2 clean it up.
Hans has 14 kills, but Caps, 3-man ults left, right, and center. The Neeko nerfs came in, and you thought this champion kind of fell out of priority, but Caps is always finding the angles in fights, and if you can land those multi-man ults, you're always going to be useful and strong. They can't end off that. No real waves to play for. 30 seconds on the Azir. Maybe they fancy themselves a Baron instead.
Seen less kills in my solo queue games here, Caedrel. 44 in 28 minutes. It's palindromic at least. 3-1-1-3. Yeah, so look at this fight agagan.
Definitely a turnaround from 18-minute first blood, isn't it?
Yes.
Odo thinks he's found Caps there, but it's actually just a clone, and Abbedagge's team being in. Just note here, XL's 11,000 gold down, and they're trying to fight this Baron, right? You can't really blame them. If they give it up, they're just going to die to the siege. What an ultimate from Caps. Odoamne and Patrik deleted. Hans waiting for a stack for his ult. Goes in and takes down the Azir.
I'd love to see the Fog of War in that play because I think they control ward the top bush. Yike stands in it, so Caps could be Yike when he's cosplaying as the Trundle, and then there's that little bit of extra surprise factor of, oh, it wasn't the Trundle all along, it was actually Caps, but I'd have to see the Fog of War to see if that's exactly what happened to XL. But Caps just so constantly finding these ultimates. His Neeko play has been pretty exceptional this year. Probably one of the best in LEC. Probably the best in LEC, actually.
Ignore the pink ward incident. The control ward
incident. Oh, yeah. But like, the rest of that game was still good.
Yeah,
it's just the one play.
It was quite a funny one anyway.
It was.
But I will say, props to XL. The fact that they were already down like 10k and they've held on for another 5 minutes and stopped it and stalled it for another Baron. Pretty good overall. Just, I think there's a lot of rethinking to do in terms of approach. You can write this game off as we lost it early. Unlucky, or you can just swap it up. I think they'll change the draft overall for game 2 anyway, because they're on blue side. Now it's just a mid to bot push for G2. I think it's pretty much done with this ginormous gold lead, but we'll see what happens.
I think the good thing for XL, as we say, is they've made them sweat for it, right? It hasn't just been roll over and die, go next. They've actually pushed G2 at times, even though G2 have been extending that gold lead. I have been informed. One more kill, and this is the bloodiest game of the summer in LEC.
It's bloody, but it feels one-sided bloody, which is not nice. Normally, like, the bloody games to be really
like
back and forth.
22-22, right?
Yeah, like even absolute scraps. But yeah, look at this poke. Look at Peach's HP.
Look at BrokenBlade's HP as well, but the killer instinct once again from Hans. Odoamne using that stopwatch to try and bide a little bit of time. BrokenBlade's able to kill him off as Limit goes in, gets the stun on Hans. And now we have the bloodiest game of the split as G2 look to wipe XL away in their base. Patrik will die, the Pop Blossom being used as well for Caps to call another kill to his name. And G2 wipe away XL. Caps becomes a control ward. He's giving them double vision. And he's definitely left XL a little bit groggy here in
Three of them, that's 3 wards.
31 minutes in the game, G2 will go 1-0 in the series.
Well played from G2. Kind of was always in their hands after the early game shenanigans and having that gold lead. They never really dropped it. Just a little bit slower than they might have liked, but that's a 15, 3, and 16 Kai'Sa from Hans.
Yep.
Probably topping the damage charts as well. The amount of poke was landing and Kai'Sa W's and such. So
he was only 2 kills away from the most kills for any player this split as well. 17 for Humanoid was the most on the Jayce. So
yeah, Kai'Sa is it's pretty strong.
Yeah, it's a very strong champion. Maybe ban it.
Or go blue side and first pick it.
Yeah.
Which
or pick it on red side first pick because the enemy picked Rell.
True.
These are all your options, XL. We'll see what they do. I'm going to hand it over to our analysts to break down that game.
Thank you, Medic, and thank you, Caedrel. That was we have the right one. That was the an action-packed game. Actually, I think it was the bloodiest game we had all summer. We knew what to expect on the side of G2, and I think this game was exactly what we could see from them.
Honestly, from the get-go, you know, I kind of like the XL idea of what they built up in the draft, right? It's like they pivoted with the Jayce, you know, sending it up into the Renekton because the Trundle was picked. They had to set up a scenario. Jesus.
Look at the gold graph, and I mean that's I think what we're gonna be talking the most about here. The fact that G2 grabbed the advantage early and they just don't let it go. This gold graph,
17k gold lead.
I know.
Wow.
That's... Anyway, so Yamato, you were mentioning the draft, and I think it's a good follow-up to the conversation we had before the series, because we kept on talking about how Excel was innovating and adapting onto the patch. What do you think of the approach here? You were talking about the Jayce going up against Renekton. What about the rest?
So honestly, I like the Jayce pivot into the top to pick the Azir into Neeko in isolation. I think the fact when the enemy shows Trundle, you don't want to pick the tanks that you usually lock into the Renekton. So I kind of like the idea of setting that up. Kalista to make the bot side very competitive. I think it's important to have a strong bot against Mikyx, because if Mikyx controls bot, then he controls the whole game. So I like that they brought the fight to them. We saw the flashes being burned. It was a good start, but it wasn't enough.
And it feels to me, Broxah, that it's a composition with like really narrow win conditions. And for me, if you fall behind, the recovery opportunities are not going to be that easy to find, and that was the case here, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky comp to play once you fall behind, but for me, the biggest mistake Excel made in draft was last picking Azir, because you have two side lanes that both want to pressure, want to play aggressive, want to generate leads. But with Azir into the Neeko, you can't really do anything, and we saw what Caps did early game. He, well, obviously got a solo kill, so that helped, but then he was just first on every single play, and Azir could never really follow up, which made the game so impossible for Excel to play.
And G2 had the control from the get-go, actually. If we take a look at the first blood and the early plays from G2, we know that they're really, really good at this, and they're gonna come up with creative plays and just keep control of the action.
It was such a good start from Excel's side when they burned to double summoners on bottom side. They have the Kalista early. This also, you know, with the Maokai pathing into the bottom side, you can begin to imagine, you know, that G2 might struggle into the bot side, but G2 is just so quick to pivot, sending the Trundle into the bottom side. Alistar wants to pressure, and the timing of this pillar is just gorgeous. Really resets G2's bot lane back in control.
And I think this shows really clearly that G2 is always going to be ready to adapt no matter what happens. You know, this was not a pre-planned level 1 by any means from them, but they saw both of the flashes burned. Yike immediately changes his plan, goes pillar level 2, and just gets his team off to a great start.
And that's what I mean when I say G2 being creative. It's not only in draft, it's not only on the way they approach a neutral objective, for instance, but how they can recover from tricky situations. And here, they just didn't let it go, and they were active all around the map in the early game.
And I think that's the key part about G2, right? Like, the pressure is real. They're always going to, you know, just go ham everywhere. Here, of course, we see Excel and G2 battling it out in the bot lane. Excel, at one point, obviously thought that Summer was dead, but he manages to rescue himself with the cleanse. Great fighting all around from Mikyx, and Summer comes in right at the end, healthy once again. And this fight in particular is really interesting to me, because actually what happened before the clip was Excel pushing out bot lane, and Hansama was catching on the turret. Excel thought they could start Dragon, but because Caps had the mid prio, he moves down first, sets up a huge ult for his team, which is something we saw countless times in this game, and Excel just ends up overforcing.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think after the first blood, Neeko was just first to any action that was happening. You know, with Kalista, you want to snowball with the Drakes, you want to be diving bottom, but if the Azir is always going to be the one limping after the Neeko, then definitely, you know, it's going to be very hard to be the aggressor. And Caps just seems to be completely in the zone. He's got that playoff mojo going on. He's on point, playing Neeko after the nerf, something that other players aren't picking. But, you know, with the Neeko synergy against the Maokai ult and just being able to control early, really sets up a bot lane like G2's bot lane for success.
And I'm just wondering here, what would you want to do as Excel to try and recover, try and come back? Because I feel like they tried to hold onto it, and it took quite sometimes before G2 was able to get the pace down. But they were forcing a bit too much on some plays. But I feel like you want to try something in situations like this.
I think it's a tricky balance, right? Because Excel knows that if they don't do anything at any point, they're just slowly going to get rolled over. But at the same time, when you're already behind, you need to take calculated risks. And if you end up in a position where you fall behind a couple of times and then force a Drake fight, force a bot dive when you don't really have to, all of a sudden, we're 9 minutes in, enemy team has 10 kills, and you have a 0% chance of winning. So I think for them, play a bit slower, play with patience, and don't let the pressure of being in playoffs get to you.
I feel like the main struggle for XL, and it's something that they've gotten away with in the previous matches, is just Abbedagge's early game. He played LeBlanc games, the one where he had probably his best game in the season. That game started off so rough. He was like 30 CS behind, 0-1-0, finished the latest static share I've seen all season long, but he comes online so much later. Caps is online, he connects to the server and he's there. And when you give Caps an inch, he's going to take over the whole game. And that's what makes G2 so dangerous. When they're ahead anywhere, they know how to transfer that lead and make everyone have a good time on G2.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand the Azir, even though you didn't like this as last pick, but maybe you want to have some agency going into the late game and thinking that you're going to be able to create plays with this Azir. But let's say we want to see a refined approach on the side of XL, who are going to stay on the same side, red side here. What do we want to see as adaptations on the draft first?
I think more than anything, Yamato said it clearly already, they need to make sure Abbedagge can actually survive laning phase into Caps. You cannot get counterpick mid and then get solo killed and out pressured the way he did. Get him in a comfortable matchup, get him in a matchup where he can at least try to farm evenly and follow when Caps is about to make a play. And, you know, there's so many things that went wrong. I don't think it was so much about the draft. I think ultimately it's just about them getting a mental reset, coming in with a good early game plan, and actually, you know, succeeding with that plan this time around.
I feel like it's just the issue of facing up against G2 is that, you know, all of your flaws that you can maybe manage to band-aid against the other teams are going to be showcased. And when I think of Abbedagge, I think of the Azir. The 3-0 week that they had in regular split, that was the Azir. He played, of course, some Jayce games, had a good LeBlanc game, but it always came at the back end of games because a lot of those games against, for example, SK were very sloppy, and they managed to get to that point where Abbedagge becomes a better player after 25 minutes. But how to figure out this early game, I don't know if there's a clear solution, because in the end, you're just measuring yourself against a very strong G2.
I think the one joker they could have, so to speak, would be Peach. We saw him playing Lee Sin in the past, finding so many successful plays, really creating all that early game pressure. And if he's on a playmaker, on a strong carry, and he comes online, maybe he can make the difference. But again, you know, playing that well against Yike is also not going to be an easy challenge.
I mean, that's the thing. And for me, in terms of mindset, as you said, maybe taking some time. You know you're facing off against G2. You know you're coming as the underdog here in this matchup. But also they had the momentum going from the miracle run they kept on making happen here. So maybe there's something mentally that they can leverage and be in a better mindset. Yamato, as a coach, I'm asking if you think there's something.
I think they could, as you mentioned, they come in as the underdog. Yeah. They have nothing to lose. Everyone expects them to lose. They better just, you know, put everything on the line. Don't be discouraged.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens for the next game as G2 dominate here in game one in the first playoff series we have. Can XL find a winning formula after the first game? We'll be right back after this.
Catch them as flash forward, and Abbedagge is just dead. And Patrik cleansing away. Limit going in for Hans Summer. He's down to 200 HP, and Patrik look for the end. Can't get the spears in. Hans Summer's back. Mikyx with the re-engage. Patrik flashing away. Dodge away, but he still gets stunned up. The glacial augment is just too much. G2 get a double in the bot lane. The Neeko clone that tanks the root, and now the re-engage can begin. Peach already low. Pop blossom onto 3. Caps finds them all, and the killer instinct lives up to its name as Hans Summer dives in. The bait's call.